Roll Tide, everybody. Roll Tide, everybody. Man, I was going to try to come in here and keep it cool, calm, and collective. I've been trying to tone down the rhetoric, but today I have had enough. I'm down at the Home Depot, and yeah, I'm in the South. And I'm getting I went to buy some Gorilla Glue. Needed the clear kind, got something going on. They said I could do it and they was going to help. So I'm walking around there and somebody says, pardon me. And I thought he was going to go Grey Poupon on me. But he said, pardon me, I just think you guys are really going to lose tomorrow. Michigan's is a heck of a lot better team. And before I start giving this good old boy, or not even a good old boy, this gentleman, before I start giving this gent reading the riot act, SEC Nation stood up. What game are you talking about? Are you talking about a high school basketball game or something? Yo, man. Who you talking about? You talking about the Crimson Tide? Or you talking about Powder Tide versus Liquid Tide? I mean, it was just all over this dude. Look, man, I got incensed a little bit. You know, it's a little, I was a little worked up. But I ain't have to say nothing. Even the lady from behind, baby, you need to cut it out before you get jumped on in here. And that ain't part of my job, breaking up no skirmishes. That's what she said. But in that same passion, I had to go get somebody to bring the heat. Because we are one day out from Alabama playing Michigan. One day away. So today I just wanted to focus on somebody who's going to bring the heat. I went and found this young man, JT Sports. You can find him on the Instagram, on the Twitter X. You can do the Apple podcast, because I don't do the apples because, apples don't last long. They get worms in them. And then they got the Spotify. Yeah, I said the Spotify. How old do you think I am? Pretty old. Anyway, old is the gold. This man he's hard. He's hard hitting. He's edgy. He give it to you straight up. He's independent. I don't know what part of the country he's from, but he's trying to speak the truth to these Michigan / Big Ten supporters. All the not the Big 12. They didn't take that over yet. Yeah. So, man, he just calling everybody out who's spitting all this BS, talking about how much better Michigan is in these different facets and talent levels. Woo! I mean, he brings the smoke, folks. So I hope you had your Geritol. I had mine. I take that Members Mark adult over 50 vitamin. Yeah. I hope you had that. I hope your energy is up. Keep your energy up. Don't waste too much on those NFL stuff, because tomorrow we're going to need it. We are going to need it, Tide Nation. Let's just listen in and let this man cook.
Narratives about Alabama going into their playoff game against Michigan. The other night, I had one of my friends who hit me up and said, JT, Alabama's overrated.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
They barely beat a Auburn team that lost to New Mexico State. And I almost blocked his number. I promise to God I almost blocked him. Because based on that logic, the other three participants in the playoffs, they're overrated as well, because Michigan barely beat Maryland on the road. Texas barely beat a down TCU team that didn't even make it to a bowl game and barely was able to get wins against Kansas State and Iowa State. Washington barely was able to beat two of the worst teams in the Pac-12 this year, in Arizona State and Stanford. So based on that logic, if Alabama's overrated because they had a near mishap against their rival Auburn, who lost to New Mexico State, then so are the other three teams that are in the playoffs, because they've had games when they've nearly lost to inferior competition. Michigan is a more talented team than Alabama. No, they're not. Both of these teams are evenly matched talent-wise going into this game. The only position that Michigan has the advantage over Alabama, and it's not even a debate, is their offensive line. The Wolverines' offensive line clears Alabama. We should all be able to agree on that. But outside of the offensive line, Michigan doesn't have a single position that's better than Alabama's. And if we want to be technical, the only reason that Michigan's team is equivalent to Bama this year from a talent standpoint is because how great of a developer of talent that Jim Harbaugh is. You see, 24/7 Sports, before the start of every college football season, they release their team talent composite rankings, which ranks every team's roster from most talented to least talented based on the amount of 3, 4, and 5 stars that they have on their team. And do you know where Alabama ranks this year? They're number 1. And did you know that there's never been a team that's won a national championship that has ranked outside of the top 10 of 24/7 Sports team talent composite rankings? There's a reason why the SEC has monopoly on college football. People who don't live in the South hate to admit the fact that the South runs college football. The SEC conference has won 6 out of the last 9 national championships, including the last 4. You wanna know why? Because the best teams in this conference consistently out-recruit the majority of college football. If anything, if you call the SEC overrated, the Big Ten is even more overrated. The Big Ten only has 3 elite programs: Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. Other than those 3 schools, the Big Ten is a wash. Michigan beat Iowa in the Big Ten championship, who managed to win 10 games despite having an ass offense and an elite defense. How does that even work? The Big Ten only has 3 elite programs: Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan. Other than those 3 schools, the Big Ten is a wash. Michigan beat Iowa in the Big Ten championship, who managed to win 10 games despite having an ass offense and an elite defense. How does that even work? You see, people hate dominance. People want to see Alabama fall off. People before the start of this season were claiming that Alabama was going to have their worst season ever under Nick Saban, all because they lost to Tennessee and LSU last year. Alabama is just as good as a team as what Michigan is. These bullshit narratives that people keep throwing out to demean Alabama, they make no sense to me. Michigan is just as good as a team as what Alabama is. And just because Alabama barely beat Auburn, that doesn't mean they're not going to be able to beat Michigan. Because that same Bama team that almost lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl was the same team that ended Georgia's 29-game win streak in the SEC championship game. Why is it? It's stupid to try to judge and paint a narrative about Alabama off of one game and just ignore their overall body of work. They blew out a top 10 ranked Ole Miss team. They took down a team that won 29 straight games. How are they overrated? That makes no sense to me. And you want to know the one advantage that Alabama has over Michigan that Michigan fans are scared to talk about? Coaching. Nick Saban has been here before. He's not new to this. He's true to this. He's only lost 1 first-round playoff game, and that was to Ohio State when they had Cardale Jones. Meanwhile, Jim Harbaugh, he's still fishing for his first win in the playoffs, and he also has a terrible postseason record when it comes to bowl season.
These are my sentiments exactly. Now, I don't agree with him when he talks about the offensive line. I think our offensive line is younger, but them being that much better than us on offensive line, as I stated in other videos, as I found out, 3 people who started at USF in Texas are the only ones left over. 2 people have been replaced, and they're all playing superb football. But I'll give Michigan that. They've been together longer. But does anybody bring up the fact that they're missing the All-American guard? If you don't think All-American guard means anything, we'll see tomorrow night. And you know what it meant? It meant 2 yards per carry against Iowa. 2 yards per carry against Iowa. That's what an All-American guard may do for you. You're talking about being thrown off, not being synchronized, not being jailed. that matters. So we're going to see. We're going to see tomorrow night. And I'm doing a live with my boys for a pregame. And then I'm going into the cave and I'm going to get with like-minded people. Then I'm going to watch. And it's going to be a banger. Like I said, I called the score. I'm bad at it. I said 29-20, and I'm sticking with that because it don't even matter. But what does matter is that we get the win and move on to the next game. And with that, always remember, roll, tide, roll.